Hello everyone, this is Anna from Our Paper Paradise, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make this Columbine flower. You can take the strips out of the pack. You'll notice there's 5 of them that are smaller. We'll just set these aside. And what we're going to do with these guys is take 2 of them and we're going to glue them end to end to make an extra large strip. To do that, we just take 1 strip, put a little bit of glue there, bring another strip and match them up. Make sure they are aligned so that when you're curling them, they won't be skewed. So we're going to do this for all of these strips. We need 15 of this extra long length here. So we're just going to speed through this, but the process is the same. Just put a little bit of glue there, bring them together. So the overlap between these is about 1/4 inch. You don't need to overlap them too much. Now that we have all of them glued together, we're going to let them dry a little bit before we do anything else with them. So you can unpack your white strips, and we're going to start curling these guys up. Again, set the smaller strips to the side. I'm not using them yet. And we're going to start with the longer ones. You will see that the quilling tool has a slot on it. And we will start by taking 1 strip, sliding it into the slot on the tool, and then we are going to start curling. You can start curling away from you or towards you. It doesn't really matter. It's what feels better to you. So I'm gonna do it away from me, and you can see how I'm holding my fingers here. This is supporting the tool, and these 2 are holding the paper, but they're not holding tightly. Especially in this one, you want to let the paper be pretty loose. You don't want to put a lot of tension on the paper because it needs to expand quite a bit. So you just start curling all the way until the end, and then you're going to let it go. Take it off the tool and let it go. We want this to be the same size as this, so you can't put a lot of tension when you're curling, so it opens up enough. And also we are going to let it keep opening while we do other things. So we'll curl all the strips, let them open, and then we'll be working on these guys again as they open. Next strip, same thing. You just insert it into the tool, start curling it. Keep it pretty loose till the end, and then just let it go. All right, those are done. We are going to leave them to open, put them to the side here. And now these guys are already dry, so I'm going to start curling them. And the process is exactly the same. It's just a little longer strip, so it will take a little longer to curl. But you place a strip on the slot and just start rolling it. You don't need to do this as fast as I do it. If you're not used to paper quilling, you'll see that this gives a little bit of strain on your hands. So take it easy. Do one here, one there. There's no rush. Okay, so basically we are going to be using this bigger template for all of the big purple strips, the medium template for the white ones, and the small template is going to be for these darker purple ones, smaller ones. Let me curl the smaller ones too, just so we have all the coils made up, and then we'll start gluing them and shaping them into what we need. As you can see, this flower is a complex flower. It has 1 tier, 2 tiers, 3 tiers, and the second tier is a composite petal. It has 2 shapes in there. So let's do these tiny purple strips. Same process. You just put it in the quilling tool and curl it up all the way to the end. And then I'll teach you how we use the template. So once you curl it up, we are going to take this little guy, and we are going to let the one you just created expand on top of the template. Once they match, and this is by feel more than anything. If you don't feel a gap there, then they're the same size. Once it's that size, you can take that one away, grab that little tab, put a little bit of glue on there, and close it shut. There we have that. 5 more of those, or 4 more of those. Same process. Curl it until the end. Take it off the tool. Bring the template over, let it expand until it's the same size. Take that little tab, glue it down. If you don't have one of these, you can put your glue on a plate or some sort of container. Then take a toothpick and just pick a little bit of glue and dab it where you need it. It's a lot more precise than using the big Elmer's glue bottle. Now we're gonna glue these big guys. The process is the same. We're gonna use a template to make sure they're the size we want. They're way bigger than the template, as you can see. So what I just show you, I'm gonna pull them close together again, and then put it on top. Let it expand a little too much. Let it open. Excuse the sirens, I have no idea what's going on. Same process, put a little bit of glue on there. And bring it close. Now make sure it's really closed. You'll see that the centerpiece is way tighter than the outer piece, and there's ways to change that. You can, with your fingers, move the centerpiece in a way that opens it more. It's not super important until we're shaping it though, so don't worry too much about it. All right, we're gonna do the same thing to all of them. Now we're going to take one of each. So I'm going to take 5 of them, and we are going to shape them into an eye shape. To do that, you just hold it like that and squeeze both sides until you have that eye shape. See, I tried to put the seam on the edge there. It was a little off, but that's fine. This is all going to be hidden anyway, so it's not very important on these ones. You can put it in the middle, doesn't matter. It's just a habit I developed to hide the seams, to put it on the edge there. In this particular one, it's not too important. So when you have a very big discrepancy between the size of the coils, you might want to do that. I'm just holding the center and rotating it so the distribution is a little more even. Not sure if you can see that very well, but that's all I'm doing. So once you have that, you can then hold the center and pinch one of the sides, and then you hold the center and bring it around to pinch the other side. When it's not even distributed, you can force it to be so by doing that. Now the rest of them are going to be half moon shapes. So it's essentially the same process, but you kind of offset it. So you pinch one side, same way, but then the other side is not pinched on the opposite, like that. It's more pinched down to make a half circle, like that. So we want to push the center up and bring the sides down. All right, now we have the petals. We have to glue these components together. As you can see, in this one, we have the eye shape in the center, and it's pushed up from the other two. So the other two meet at the bottom and then roll around the eye shape, but the eye shape is still a little bit out of the loop, if you will. So let's start gluing. And you might want to put something like saran wrap or parchment paper or wax paper on your surface so that you don't glue the petals to your table. I'm going to start by putting some glue on there. We'll do the same with this guy. And then we'll just sandwich that piece together. I'm holding them, they're touching down here, and then I'm just holding them around the other one, and I will push them down to make sure everything is leveled. Otherwise you might get petals sticking out more than the other, and that is no good. Okay, and once that's done, we are going to take one of these guys, the smaller purple strips. We'll fold them in half. Put some glue all along it. And we are going to wrap it around these guys. So I'm putting the bend right on top there, and then just wrapping it around. They're going to meet down here and have this little excess. We want to make sure everything's lined up. And there we go. First petal is done. We're going to set it aside and let it dry. You can still shape it as it dries, and even after it dries you can still shape it a little. Let's make the same thing for all of them. We're going to let these guys dry before we do anything else with them. We can curl this little guy up. So this is a fringed strip, and we're just going to curl it up. If you look carefully, you'll see that it has a slight curvature that way. So we want to curl it like that, so the curvature continues that way. So what I'm gonna do is see where it's going and then curl it the other way. Same process. You slide it into the tool and then you just start curling until you reach the end. And you see how it's opening up because it was curling that way. If you by some reason can't figure this out, you just start curling one way, and if it's not doing this little splay, then you are curling the wrong way. You can just uncurl it and start from the other side. Put a little bit of glue on the end there. And close it. This is going to be the center of our flower. We don't need the big one anymore. Now we can move into the second stage petals there. Those guys are comprised of the outer layer in white, which is going to be made by these, and the inner layer purple, which is going to be made by those. And you still have these little guys, which we are going to wrap around like we did for these. All right, let's use the template. So I have let them expand enough that they're pretty much at the size I need to. If that was not the case for you, if they're still too closed, you can always grab them with your fingers and kind of pull them apart a little more. Each ring, gently pulling them open more. You can see that it's already bigger than that one. And then just place them on top of the template and shape them until it's the size. It's pretty easy. You just need to be patient. So next step on this process is to get that curve that we see around here. For that, we are going to use the handle of the quilling tool. I'm just looking for the edge of the paper again to make sure it's in one of the pinched sides. So you're going to put your coil against the tool there. You're going to use your thumb to hold it. You're pressing it down gently, but you don't want to crush that middle part. So you're just holding it there so it doesn't escape anywhere. And then with these two fingers, you're going to come around and shape the strip around the tool. See, I didn't crush that center there. I'm just holding it in place long enough that I can do this. And there you have it. Same thing with the other ones. Next step, we're going to take these little guys and we're going to make teardrops. Teardrops are very easy. You just hold the shape like this and pinch one of the sides. There you go, teardrop. Going to do the same with all of them. Now these guys are going to be placed in the center of the shapes you just created. And that's how we get the second petal. For that, we're just going to put some glue on the inside here. Place the teardrop in the middle there and bring the other two around. It's gonna want to fight you. Just make sure everything is lined up again on this plane and that everything's sticking together. Now, to make sure these will stay together, we are gonna wrap this strip around it twice. So I'm gonna start by putting a line of glue on the white strip. I didn't put it all the way to the end because we're gonna have excess anyway, so we'll see where we need more or not. Wrap it once and wrap it twice. We're gonna need a little more glue. I'm gonna put it on the petal itself. And once you reach there, we can cut that excess. There we have it, a composite petal. Looks very complicated. It is not that hard. Now that these guys are dry, we are going to cut off this excess tab here. We want to go as close to the edge there as we can without breaking it. And by breaking it, I mean if we cut too much, it will split apart and you'll have to glue it again. So you want to fold it. That will give you a nice line. And we're just going to cut a little after that line, so it's still opening a little, so you can put some glue in there. It's not terribly important because this is going to glue together, but you know, if you want to make sure, you can do that. Same thing with all the rest. Okay, now we have all the parts. We're going to put it together. For that, it might be helpful to you to grab that corkboard that I talked about earlier and some pins, because we are going to need to make sure stuff doesn't move around. As you can see, you can kind of play with this still and kind of push it around to make sure it's a nice shape. It's even and round. So you have more or less the same kind of petal all around. But if it's not all the same petal all around, don't worry too much about it, because flowers are not the same all around either. So this guy goes in the center. And if you want to make sure you don't glue your piece to the corkboard, use the plastic baggie that your instructions came in. You can put it under it and then pin stuff to it. That way, when you take it off, you won't stick to the bottom there. You can see how that is fitting together. This little guy is going to be right in the center. So, since this one is not moving, we are going to put a pin right in the middle of it. It's going to come on the other side, and we're going to pin it down. We are going to glue these guys. We are going to try and glue them to this centerpiece and to each other. So how we do that? We do that by putting some glue on the edge here and putting some glue on the side. This is not a very exact science. You just see more or less where they're touching here and you put it on there. All right, first one is up against that. If you want to stabilize it, just get a few pins. And place them on the sides and on the top there. Then move to the next one. Same thing, you put a little bit of glue there. Bit on that side, bit on that side. And you bring it over gently. Don't push these things too much against each other or they'll start rotating and moving and just makes it harder on yourself. One pin there, one pin here, and another one here. Move to the next petal. Oh, these guys were already sticking because I put glue there. If you need, you can always press the sides a little more so they all fit in the center. It's not incredibly important that they touch the center one because we are going to put these guys in. And these guys are going to touch the center one and be glued to these parts too. So they're kind of going to bring everything together. For that purpose, we are going to place them there and see how they fit before we glue anything down. And that's always a good idea. See how things are going before you put glue on them. If you notice, I'm kind of offsetting them so they are pointing to the interval between these guys. You can do that or not. It's up to you how you arrange them. They're all touching the center, so that's a good arrangement. We can proceed to the next step, which is gluing everything down. If you need, you can always pinch them a little more so they are touching the center. If that's so basically they want to touch the center and touch each other. If they're not touching each other, it's because they're too thin and you need to push them like that to make them rounder. If they're too fat and they're not touching the center because the touching each other is pushing them outwards, you need to make them more to a point so that they can touch the center. I hope that makes sense and I didn't just confuse the heck out of you all. All right, let's start with one. So basically we're going to do it here on the edge. This is going to touch the center, a little bit on the side where they're going to touch each other, and then we're going to put quite a bit on the bottom here. And then be careful when you're placing this, because you don't want to place it all the way up out here and then smear the glue all the way in. So you want to bring it in and only put it down when you're like right there. Press everything down to make sure it's glued down there. Then you can start taking the pins out. Now the last thing you can do with this is, you see all these little fringes here, we can go in and put some in the slot of the tool and give them a twist. This is a hard thing to do when it's still drying and you can't see very well what you're doing. But basically you put it in there and give it a twist to make it look like it has a little bend in there, like the real plants have. The stems have that little nub at the end. So you can do that to as many or as little as you want, really. You can fluff it up a little bit. But there you have it. This is the flower. As you can see, it came right out of there. If you didn't have this, it might have stuck because there's a little bit of glue on the end there. And you need to let this dry. So the next step would be to glue the magnet here, and I'm going to show you on this one that's already dry. But you really need to let this dry before trying that. So once you have that dry, you grab your E6000. I recommend this glue because I know it works. It might work with hot glue. I have terrible luck with hot glue. I don't like it at all. It might work with super glue. I'm not sure. I never tried it. I know this one works real well, so that's why I recommend it. It's very stinky though, so make sure you're in a open area. You can easily let the air out. So I'm just spreading it. I don't like squeezing the tube because if I do, it starts gushing out and it's really hard to stop. So I use this needle tool to take it out and spread it. So basically just put an even coat on the magnet and then we'll let it drop right in the middle there. This will have to dry for several hours before you can put it on your fridge. So just leave it, forget about it, and by the time you remember again, it will be dry. And that is it for the Columbine flower fridge magnet. I hope you enjoyed the class. Do share. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments or send me a message on my page. And do share your results with me. I love to see your work. Thanks. Till next time.